Hi class, I hope you had a great weekend and have taken ample amount of rest and are ready for the next week. Um, so in this video, I will be going over how you can analyze and report your interview results. So far, you've worked on developing your own interview questions for the topic that you've chosen and should have also conducted it on 5 participants of your choice. So to begin with, once you have conducted all 5 interviews, which you should have done by now, you will first listen to them individually and familiarize yourself to them. Okay? Once you've done that, and what is usually done in research is that the interviewers or the research team works on transcribing the interview into a verbatim or verbatim, okay, whatever you want to call it. Transcribing is the process of typing out word for word everything that has been discussed in the interview, including the questions. Okay, so then they use different softwares to analyze the results and the verbatims. But for the purpose of this research or for this research project, we're going to keep it pretty simple. Okay, we won't be using any of those softwares, but we will be looking at your interpretations of the interviews. So to begin with, then you will not be doing a transcribed verbatim. You don't have to write down whatever is mentioned in the interview word for word, but you will be making notes on the main points. Okay. So once you've listened to it for the first time, you will listen to the interview again. And the second time, you will start making notes on the responses the participants have made or interviewees have made on the close-ended questions. These are easy to record and are very good points to use and analyze as statistical data or numeric data. Okay, I will discuss that a little in the next slide. So yeah, so make sure you record their close-ended questions word for word. That's something that is yes or no, or it's Instagram and whatever they're using, or it could be they feel sad or they feel happy. Okay, so very close-ended questions, make sure that you write down those for sure. After that, for more descriptive responses, write down the important points that they mention. Okay, it could be that using technology helps them connect to people around the world and keep in touch with people they care about. Okay, that is an important point because it could then lead you to understanding that technology has positive effects on relationships. Okay, so important points that each interview has. Okay, that's something you can take notes on. And finally, direct quotes. You will need to use quotes in your report to explain why you have arrived at a certain conclusion, okay, or certain theme. So I would recommend using 2 very significant quotes or writing down 2 very significant quotes per interview. Okay, so that means you'll have 10 quotes for all 5 interviews. Okay, so this is the first step. Once you're done with that, you can organize your notes in 2 different ways. The first one is to do it according to question number. Okay, so if the first question is how many hours a day do you typically spend on your phone, you can write interview one's response and then all through to interview 5. Okay, this will help you do very simple comparisons between the 5 interviewees. The other option is to write notes per interviewee. Both of them are okay with me. I think this will be helpful for quantitative and more close-ended questions, and this could be more helpful for open-ended and descriptive questions. Okay, so you can choose to do a combination of both, or you can choose to do one of either. So these are 2 ways that you can organize your notes, but I would recommend that you do take notes because revisiting your interview each time you want to make a point is going to be too difficult and it's just going to take a lot of time. So the first step has to be you making notes, having listened to your interviews. Okay, once you've done that, there's how you can deal with close-ended questions. Close-ended questions, as I've mentioned in the past, is stuff that results in answers that are yes or no, have 1 or 2 words or 3 words, okay? And it can be something that we can represent in terms of numerics and statistics, okay? For example, how many hours a day do you typically spend on your phone? If you have all 5 responses and these are the numbers that you get, you can average them all by adding it up and dividing by 5 which is the total number of participants that you have. So that will generate a numerical average of how many hours your 5 participants, spend on a daily basis. Okay, so that's one way you can numerically represent the responses, even though it's an interview. Okay, another one is, what do you usually use your social media for? Okay, this could be represented in frequency if they say that they use it for Instagram or they use it for email. So how many of the participants use that? Do all 5 of them use it for Instagram? Do all 5 of it use it for email? Do all 5 of them use it for I don't know, working out, right? Using an app for workouts. So you can represent it as frequency. Some of them, only maybe one of them uses it for working out. Maybe 2 of them use it for email. So again, a way to numerically represent the data that you receive. Then there is this, which is, when in a social setting with family or friends, do you tend to use your phone? So the response could be yes and no. Okay, sometimes they will say maybe, sometimes. So you can ask them to be a little more specific. If they're saying sometimes, you can say, on an average, do you do it more or do you not do it? So then it'll be a yes and no. So then you can represent it as percentage. If 4 out of 5 say that they do, then that's 80% of your participants who use their phones in the presence of another person, which is referred to as phubbing, as I've mentioned in the past. Okay, so again, close-ended questions can be represented as numerics, okay, for the purpose of this research, and usually as well. It results in descriptive data, okay, which means that it cannot be generalized and it cannot result in conclusions that are applicable to the general population. Okay, it is only relevant to describe this group of participants that you have. Okay, if 80% of your participants say that they do use their phone in the presence of others, this does not mean that everyone in your population does that. It's just representative or descriptive of your participants, your 5. It's limited to that. Okay, but that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. Okay, it does still inform you about phone usage and digital technology, and also will help you use it as a launch pad into your further research and the area that you choose in specific. Okay, so an example is from Aiko's interview. Okay, so one of the questions that she asks is, have you ever experienced the feeling of sadness from the use of social media? Please say yes or no if the following has been a cause of sadness in the past. Okay, so she's given several different causes that she lists out, and her participants literally have to say yes or no. Okay, cyberbullying, conflicting ideas, sad news, exclusion, number of likes, comments, too much time on social media. Okay, so if all 5 participants are saying yes, number of likes in the past has caused them to feel sad, the frequency is 5. Okay, and here cyberbullying, the frequency is 2, and conflicting ideas, frequency is 1. Even though, and again, these are just made up numbers, I don't know her results yet. Even though this does not help you make any generalizations, this does give you some information about what could be possible causes of feeling sad online, okay, with the chosen participants that you have. So you will be able to come to some conclusions by comparing the frequencies here. And having said that, your reports need to have at least one graph that numerically represents some close-ended question that you have chosen. It could be in terms of average, it can be in terms of frequency, it can be in terms of maximum, minimum, okay? Hopefully these are things that you have learned in math before. And also it can be in terms of percentages, okay? Very basic descriptive statistics that you can use that can be helpful in you making comparisons between the 5 interviews. Okay, and then there's the open-ended questions, which are usually more qualitative and descriptive in nature, and these can be quite daunting in you trying to understand how you analyze them. What usually happens is referred to as thematic or inductive content analysis. This is basically the researchers attempt to analyze the data and come to common or general patterns or themes that emerge from the data. Okay, if any of you do English literature or even Chinese literature, I know when you go through a specific story, or you go through a range of different books from the same author, such as Shakespeare, okay, there are themes that are common that you will find amongst them. Here, Shakespeare has a lot of commonalities with deception in his books: tragedy, love, revenge, lust, ambition, power. Romeo, not so much about that, but these are common themes in his range of works, okay? So you need to find your themes, or what are the common patterns that you find in the 5 interviews that you've had, okay? So when you do your analysis, again, this is based on your interpretation of what you hear from your participants, okay? You are going to find the first step of themes, which are lower ordinate subordinate themes or subordinate themes. These are things that are quite common that you hear, okay? Some of them might say that, like for example, some of them, if it's not in this format, some of them might say that number of likes can really make me sad or can make me very happy, okay? And others say, yes, comments make me feel like I am approved and that I am pretty and that I'm validated and that I am cool and I'm popular, okay? So then those are very obvious lower order themes that you're able to find likability and acceptance from likes and comments, okay? So then that can be further interpreted as higher order or superordinate themes by saying that we use number of likes and comments and acceptance on social media to make social comparisons, to compare how many likes I have, how many comments I have, or positive comments I have to someone else. And this can help us establish our social status in the day and time that we live in. Okay, so that is a superordinate theme that you can arrive at by first